Buckle up, excellence junkies, because this podcast is definitely for you. Welcome to Rocketeers. Do you wish that you could surround yourself with people that love to kick ass just like you? Well, come to my party, baby, and meet some of the brightest stars in the entrepreneurial galaxy, because it is my mission to give these entrepreneurs a platform to declare what they are on this planet to accomplish and to show you why they are rocket fuel. And we're live. Hey guys, this is going to be awesome because if you are an entrepreneur, or I mean, honestly, if you've seen all of these online summits all over the place, especially this past year, I'm sure you have questions about like, wow, like how do people get these things done? If you're an entrepreneur, you're probably itching to do one as well. And so today we have like the queen master of like how to run these summits. She's like, whoa, wait a second. I didn't put this. She didn't put that in her bio. But yes, that's you, Marie. Marie Mack. She is the founder of First Cup to Close, but she is a total expert on actually making the entire process of running online events, period, like super peaceful, which I love because I'm kind of not a naturally peaceful person, Marie. I just want to say that.
We like to keep it peaceful.
I totally did. I was just like, that's so nice. So Marie, tell me first of all, like before we dig into this whole like fascinating world of summits, like what's your background and like what's your gig? How did you get into entrepreneurialism?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you for having me here. This is awesome. I love the whole like, let's get it done. Yeah, it's perfect. So my background, I actually started as a Black Hawk helicopter pilot for the Army, which is
just a little thing.
It's just a thing, you know, you do when you're 20. It's great. Yeah. So I jumped into that right out of college. Absolutely loved it. Super amazing experience. A lot of education. I went from there, married my husband, had a couple kids, and I was like, oh, I want to stay home with kids. I really don't want to keep doing Black Hawk helicopter stuff. So I'm sure there are other entrepreneurs out there that this is your jam. You want to be home, you want to be with kids, and I do. And so what I did is I started my business because I can't stop. Like, I'm not that person who's just like, oh, I'll just, not that that's bad, but just, I'm not going to just sit there. We had 2 kids that I homeschool full time. I started First Cup to Close, and I just wanted to.
I need to like pause. You know, so I was like helicopter pilot. Yeah, I had a few kids. I'm like homeschooling them, and I'm kind of freaking bored. Why? All right. Okay, this is why she's rocket fuel. But anyway, so then she decides, you know, let me just start a biz, and a kick-ass biz, by the way. But continue, please.
Yes. Thank you. So I'm starting a business. I'm getting online. I'm looking at everything, and I figured out that there are some amazing people out there with really, really cool ideas that can't seem to figure out how to get to the end of that idea, to the fruition of it. So they have this like, I'm going to save the world. And they don't know the step 1, step 2, step 3s to get there. And so I started taking what I was learning in the Army, this checklist of things, this like, okay, there's systems to things, there's how we get things done. And I started partnering with those people who were like, I have this amazing idea. And we started to put our brains together to actually like see all of these goals, all these dreams to fruition. And so I've been doing that for the last 7 years. Nice. And now I'm focused in on events. So using all of those things that I learned, managing the Army, managing people, managing checklists, into helping entrepreneurs that are at home, just feeling that impact, feeling that need to get out there in the world. So that's what we do now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's like really important, you know, foundation, because I think what you uniquely bring, clearly, even in your life, you have to be inherently super organized to get all that stuff done and then still feel like, I need something else. Right. But that's really important. I can imagine in attracting, you know, the right people to work with you, because it is true. There are a lot of folks that have these desires, and then the logistics, and not only the desires, but the ability to impact. Like they have the ability to impact
out there. We need it. Everybody does.
Yeah,
So
and the logistics get in the way, and that sucks. And so one of the things that I always say, and I'll continue to repeat, throughout all of these, is I encourage like people to leverage experts, because my business turned 16 this year, and at it took me 10 years to hire other people to help me because I was a nerd. So I'm just like, I could figure it out myself. And by the way, I do love checklists, like that. It's kind of sexy.
yes.
But I love other people that love checklists, because then I don't have to harp on the checklist, right? But leveraging experts is really important. But if you are blocking, if you're not actually doing something because logistics like freak you out, then that's really when you want to leverage experts. So what I know that you manage like a lot of different online events, and what would you say online events kind of encompasses, just to kind of touch on that?
Yeah, so online events in my world, those are launches, those are challenges. So if anybody's ever said, hey, join me for 5 days and we're going to do a free challenge, or 3 days, or whatever it is, challenges, summits. So summits in my brain, just so everybody's on the same page of what I think summits are. Summits are when we get a bunch of people together, we do interviews, and then we present those summits as a conglomerate to participants. So they get a lot of information about a similar topic from people doing interviews. And then giveaways is another thing. So that's where people will gather a bunch of different experts. They have free gifts, and then they put those together, and the free gifts is what is out there to the participants. But I think the biggest thing with challenges, summits, and giveaways that are sort of all the same is these are lead generation opportunities. So these are ways to get in front of new opportunities, new participants, and get your name out there, create yourself as an expert. So I feel like they're really impactful. And over the course of being an entrepreneur for so many years, it seems like that's one of the biggest things. People are always like, how do I get in front of more people? And so I kind of fell into this comfort of this is the way that I feel like is best, and what I've seen work for many others. And so that's where I kind of been living. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people recognize this across the board, right? The biggest reason why somebody is going to say, look, this is something that's worth doing, is because let's focus on a summit, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to collect a whole bunch of people that are ideal, that you can ideally serve, right? For non-entrepreneurs, we call them ideal clients or ideal prospects. And that's a whole other thing, because I have a theory of the difference between the two.
The difference?
But anyway, yes, we'll talk about that another time.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so this ideal person, let's say, that you would love to serve, and perhaps you've been around for a couple years, but you're having difficulty kind of gathering these people. Well, you can invite other people that can attract, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that have expertise in this space, and then go. So if you're not an entrepreneur, by the way, that's how people offer things that are free, right?
Yeah.
There's high value. If you provide high value in this free experience, the objective is to say, hey, if I give this for free, imagine what I will give to you and offer you if you actually like pay for an engagement. So I want like non-entrepreneur people to understand that definitely go to free events. Like take advantage, and sure, in your mind, be ready that somebody's going to say, hey, if this serves you, then wouldn't you want more of a good thing, right? And so don't use it as like an ick, I'm not going to go to it. Go to the damn free events, because they're like packed with value.
Absolutely.
But right. And then do you find yourself helping people with kind of making sure that their summit is full of value? Like, do people struggle with that part? What are the greatest struggles that people have with summits?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest struggles, especially people that have never done a summit before, most people I would say that work online or are trying to get online or dabbling with online have been on some kind of email list where somebody has emailed you and invited you to put your email in and your name in, and then you get the email back and it's like, yeah, you're in. the biggest struggle that I see inside of summits is the logistics around creating this whole thing. Of course, the niche is really important, but usually people kind of know where they want to be. They have a specific niche that they want to be in. So whether it's online coaching, or they want to be in the health industry, or they want to help teachers, or whatever it might be. But all of those still have this common issue of making sure logistically that those reminder emails get out, that the registration page works, that all of the things are put together the right way. And it's usually not in the forefront of a host's mind, because what they're thinking of is, how do I present myself out into the community the right way?
Yeah.
And that's what they should be focusing on. They should be focusing on, how am I representing myself to this new community of people? And how do I present myself best? Not if that button on that page over there is working correctly.
Right.
So that's a big deal.
Focused on being the host, identifying the people, interviewing the guests, right? And then it's like all the other stuff. Have you observed summits where you're just like, oh, girlfriend, this got messed up, or boyfriend, whatever,
Yes,
oh,
yeah.
dude,
Oh, friend. Oh, friend.
Yes, exactly. Oh, friend, you messed up, and everybody messes up. Like, what are these common things that you see are kind of flubbed?
I think the biggest thing is just making sure that their presentation out there in the world is going to serve what they want to do. If you attract the wrong people, right? Does that make sense? Like, if you're attracting the wrong kind of participant in, your goal with any lead generation in an online entrepreneurship world is take those leads, love on them, and then eventually invite them to purchase something, whether it's a low ticket, high ticket, whatever it might be. The goal of online entrepreneurship is to eventually invite them to something, and which is paid, whatever that might be, in your value ladder.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when you get the wrong people into the front, you end up finding a whole bunch of those people fall off, and the value that you're trying to invite them to join, paid, it never resonates with them. And so it's kind of hard for participants, that thing that keeps people from doing summits, I think, is that fear of, like, how do you get the right people in here? Like, how do you get the right participants into a summit that's going to resonate with them, that then later on they're going to want to be with me for a long time?
Yeah, because I can imagine, I have seen and been involved in summits where I'm just like, okay, this is super valuable to the attendees, but knowing who's hosting it, it's like, I'm not sure that the people that you're inviting are really your people. So
right. Well, and I think the biggest thing is, like, when a summit is again gathering these other interviewees.
Yeah. Interviewees.
You're the interviewer, the interviewees, guests. Yes. Inviting these guests and interviewing them. And the biggest thing is that those people have businesses in which complement yours, not necessarily like competing, but they are people who say, yes, this is the right conversation for us to have in front of these participants, so that those participants resonate with what you're doing. So like Wanda and I, we have a great complementary businesses of each other. Like, we get the fact that we have the same kind of people. We can cross-pollinate between our two lists if we wanted to be on a summit together, and it makes sense. Her people are going to like what I have to say. My people are going to like what she has to say, which means now we can impact these participants, these amazing people out there in the world, in a bigger way, because we're gathering our resources and pushing them through in a consistent and congruent way that makes them say yes. And that's the biggest thing. Like, we want these people to get what they need from who they need it from. And in my place of abundance in the world, I'm great. I want this person to go work with Wanda because that's where she needs to be,
Yeah. Well, so, and what's great is that, one, you appreciate the not appreciate, you know, well, the logistics of it, but you appreciate the strategy, right? And that's super important as well. That's the difference of just like getting a VA, which is a virtual assistant, by the way, and just saying, oh, okay, I want to do something. I'm going to tell this virtual assistant or physical assistant, to help me with that process. Well, they don't know what they're doing, and you don't know what you're doing. It's the first time. So now you have this huge strategy gap on top of a logistics gap. And it's just really interesting because so many of us as entrepreneurs, it's scary to hire the help because we don't know if it's going to work out. So then to put a lot of money up front is scary. So what I want to talk about that a little bit more. So please remind me, money, scary, and investment.
Yes.
But I do know that the Rocketeers that listen to this, they always know that every guest expert is going to offer something of high value. And you put together something great. What I love is that it is a way for people to proactively, identify the drags in the summit creation process. And I just like that you use drag because, you're helicopter pilots, it's so aviator-ish. Right?
Yes.
But so I first want to offer this to the audience because, guys, if you're an entrepreneur, you've been in business for a year or so at least, right? You want to utilize this whole summit concept as a way to generate leads, and not only to generate leads, but actually to really create some great relationships with other experts, right? That are complementary to your business. There's so much value there. So get on it, right? Get on it. There are lots of checklists and such out there. And Marie, you had mentioned that. We're going to take you deeper than that. And Marie actually talked about the process of really identifying those drags and proactively addressing them. And that's the thing. Those are the things that are going to snag you. So pull out your phone, please. Don't miss out on texting RF-peaceful. So RF for Rocket Fuel -peaceful to 411321, and you're going to receive this summit success guide. Okay. It's really important that you chose the word peaceful. And together, actually, we said, and so tell me a little bit more about that. And then I'm going to offer this to our international folks too.
Yeah. A little bit more about drags or a little bit more about peaceful?
More about peaceful first. Yeah.
Yes. So I have, peaceful is just like this resonance that I want in my business. There are so many people who have a lot of anxieties about what's happening. They have a lot of overwhelm with all of the things that have to happen. They have a lot of fear about getting in front of people and how does this happen? And so we kind of consistently inside of our business sprinkle a little bit of peaceful out there. And peaceful is just the way that it's okay. Things are going to work out great. Yes, we're going to have a checklist. And if you go into it and understand that things are going to change, life changes, right? Business changes. Yeah. The checklist is a way for us to have a path to go on. And then being peaceful about the fact that it can come in and out. And sometimes is a way that we don't get so stressed out if the checklist doesn't go exactly as planned. But you can't have a plan. You can't adjust a plan that you don't have. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And so I think it's important that even though the value bomb itself is super valuable, and you also give people the opportunity to connect with you. And so part of the value, I'm going to give you a little just peek into it, is some guidance on how to start creating that checklist, and what are the things that would hang up most people or are going to hang you up, right? You may say oh, I know that this is going to be hard for me, right? But to have the opportunity to actually get on Marie's calendar and to say, okay, I did this. How do I address this? I think that's super valuable. So I want everybody to know that when you text RF-peaceful to 411321, or for my lovely outside of the US listeners, you could text to +1 909 741 1321. All of this should be in the show notes. So if it is too fast, but don't forget to do this. You're going to text RF-peaceful as the message. And of course, provide your email address, because that's how we're going to send you the thing, right? But I was just really excited. I mean, we could have chosen something that was related to logistics or drags or whatever, but this is an important part of how you run your business.
Yes.
And so I think it's a very important message to relay to those listeners that may actually be able to benefit from that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the biggest thing with it in my world is we are inundated all the time with the go, go, go and hustle, hustle, hustle of all this stuff that has to happen. but we're choosing to be entrepreneurs, right? We're choosing to be on a timeline in which we want, this is a long-term game. Like nobody came into entrepreneurship to be here for 20 minutes and then leave again. So we just want to keep that energy going consistently. And that's where that peaceful state comes in. And that's how we work. We're going to keep things going. That's what First Cup to Close is all about. Get a cup of coffee, sit down, be there, be in it. But let's not stress so much that there's this overwhelm and anxiety. And that just doesn't make any fun. Like entrepreneurship is fun. Like having a business from your home, that is fun in my opinion. And I want to keep it going, you know? So that's where peaceful comes in.
I love it. I love it. And so what I was talking about before was like the thought of like, oh my goodness, I'm going to invest time and money in this. And there's this emotional stress point around that. So even if you're like a checklist person and you're like, yeah, but I'm super organized or whatever. First of all, we're doing something that we've never done before. So I won't know. I will not know how to predict the things that are going to commonly go wrong because I've never done it before. Right. And then I love the idea of having somebody that is going to say, you know what? Yes, I understand. This could be stressful. We're going to take care of it. We know the stuff, but we also recognize that. So I'm clearly hung up on this because it's very attractive to me, but because I do think it's important if somebody is just comparing logistical help.
Yeah. I think there's a difference between logistical help and like peaceful logistical help. Because if I'm sitting here and I'm like, your checklist isn't done. Your checklist isn't done. It's the day after. What are you doing? How are you doing this? Like that's nothing good for a host. And it's nothing good for me. And it's nothing good for the team that's working with us. And so
hot. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, if we could talk a little bit about drags, when if I were to start a summit, which I am, so watch it, Rocketeers, because we are going to have an amazing summit, right? Because I get to meet amazing people. My job is to like provide this platform for people that are rocket fuel, and I only get 30 minutes to share, right? So each one of my guests has so much to offer right? So what would be some of the things that I just need to be aware of, and you can lovingly kind of make me aware of ahead of time?
Yes, absolutely. So of course, there are a million things that happen inside of a summit. Seriously, the checklist can be massive. And that's okay in my brain because I want to know all of the steps that have to happen, and that I can help delegate those pieces out as needed. I know what's on my to-do list. Somebody else knows what theirs on, and we're going to make it to the end. We're going to make it to summit, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to make it better the second time. So when I see people starting out in summits, the biggest thing is they don't have a comprehensive checklist. So they might be looking from a summit from the outside. They're like, oh, what does Marie have on her summit? Well, she's got a registration page. That's great. So I'm going to put together a registration page. So they put on their checklist registration page. Well, a registration page is actually 5 or 6 different items that go in there to make it convert correctly, to bring in the right participants that we're talking about, to feature those summit guests appropriately. So all of those items should be on your checklist as individual items so that they don't get missed. And I mean, registration page is just that first out piece that people see. I mean, it's really powerful. It's that, you know, we're starting this know, like, trust thing. And these are how people are getting to know you. They're seeing you for the first time. So it's really an impactful place, and putting it together correctly is a drag that I see. Just that whole entire checklist, of like, these are the things that have to happen. And that can be an overwhelming space to see the checklist. When I work with people, the checklist it's extensive. But it also has some really amazing information, and there's no question about what's going to be done, and there's no question by who, and there's no question about when, and we can all play around it.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and you can't say like no.
No, that. Yeah.
Right. But actually, for somebody like you, right, who has done so many of these, the surprises are very limited, and it'll be like, oh, okay, it fits into one of these surprise situations.
Surprise
And
categories.
yeah, surprise categories. Exactly. I mean, for me by myself, I'd be like, holy crap, I could not have predicted that this or that or whatever. Yeah, and it's true. I mean, it's interesting because in the hacker world, right? If you're familiar with ClickFunnels and funnel hacking, and the whole concept is basically look at somebody's website or funnel, which is a type of website, and copy it, right? And say, respectfully copy it, right? And say, oh, okay, I see the structure of this. This is what I'm going to do. But you don't realize all of the behind the scenes stuff. And by the way, if your goal is to generate leads and to ultimately nurture these people to potentially buy your product, all of this is a reflection on you. Even if you don't do summits, right? You can say, oh yeah, but if my summit was like clunky, that does, but my product is I deliver it flawlessly. Well, guess what? I mean, the person who's the attendee is going to have that perspective that this is, if you have a clunky summit, that this is you. Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is good stuff. So tell me, in my mind, like, why would somebody not hire an expert like Marie and First Cup to Close? I mean, clearly we all get confronted with objections or people saying no. So, but I want to know, not from a salesy perspective, but I want to really understand, like, why is it that we deny help from an expert like you?
That's a good question. So I think a lot of people, they're definitely scared about this investment in something they don't know. A lot of times if people are like, no, I'm not going to hire an expert, they know just enough to say, I can do all of this. I can do everything.
I downloaded a list.
The list has been downloaded. Somebody has it. It's good. I'm just going to start through on everything. It's fine. And a lot of times these people, there are people out there that can. However, the majority of people that I see, they download the list. They're going to start on it. They're like, okay, I'm going to give myself a couple weeks. I'm going to keep going through it. I've closed out everything else in my business. I'm going to keep working. They don't understand necessarily where those snag points are, and they don't allow enough time for that. And so typically they're looking at things. I can handle this. It's all going to be fine. I know people. I'm just going to tap into my resources. All of these things can happen. And yes, in a perfect scenario, which I have yet to see, but in a perfect scenario, yes, you would call that friend of yours who has a business. She would have the exact time open in her calendar to sit down and do an hour-long interview with you, and you'd be able to edit it and put it on the page and all the copy. And yes, it should work out.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that happen yet with somebody. And so usually this is the assumption. Okay, I can do this. I can handle this. I have the checklist. But it's all the other pieces that happen in the exact scenarios. I don't know anybody that has seen the exact scenario happen where, okay, yes, I'm just going to go through the checklist and it's all great. So,
and like it just worked out. Yeah. The other thing is that's not, like, for me, when I think about it, like, once again, I say I'm a super organized person. And hey guys, listeners, right? We're talking about summits here specifically, but I think there's a lesson here overall in kind of understanding at a certain point when you want to up level, it's not about whether you can do it, right? It's whether you should be doing it, right? And so I think sometimes we, and I include myself, we get stuck in like, yeah, but I'm an organized person, or I can, like, I can do this. I can do this, right? But that's not what you uniquely should be doing. And so when you're taking weeks and weeks, like doing the logistics of any project, and we're talking about a summit here, you're taking away from now doing the things that only you can do, like your Facebook Lives and speaking at engagements and podcast guesting and actually serving your clients and all of these things, right? So so yeah, I think it's all super important. We could go on and on, Marie. I just think that I have witnessed you in many different, circles. You clearly have your act together. It's understandable because of your background, and then your choice with your family and homeschooling, all of that stuff, right? But I am really hung up on from a messaging perspective that your approach, what's important to you is also that people feel like it's a reduced stressed situation, right? And so I encourage our listeners, if you have been thinking about summits and maybe you've downloaded the checklist and you're like, oh crap, right? Then
Yes.
like get off your butt, because bottom line, a summit is highly successful in generating the right leads with really good strategy, right? And great at establishing authority, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're right in the middle of a summit that's live this week with a client of ours. And it is amazing. It's impactful. The comments we're getting in are great. People are coming into the summit, seeing this host for the first time and saying, I am in the right place. And she is able then to continue that nurture conversation after this. And it's perfect. And as a manager of this, I'm just like, yes, this is it. Like, this is what it took us so many months to plan for. And it's just a great feeling, and it's wonderful, and it's impactful, and you're putting yourself as an expert, you're connecting with other people in your niche, as networking. It's just like all of the pieces all wrapped in one. And I think it's fantastic. So
I love it. I love it. So pick up that phone and please text RF-peaceful to 411321. You will immediately, as soon as you provide your email address, immediately receive this summit success guide. And it really it focuses on proactively identifying the drags in this whole summit creation process, right? And you have the opportunity to get other resources that are going to make all of your online event planning both successful and stress-free, right? You don't just like, oh, well, that was successful, but I need therapy.
I've seen hosts who just go, nope, I'm done. And that's just a bummer. So let's not do that.
Yeah. And so I also call out to that person who has done a summit and is like, I hear you. I don't know if I want to do another summit because that was really super stressful. And I would throw out that just because you got through the first one, it doesn't mean that you need to do the next one by yourself, right? And so if you're listening outside of the US, remember you can text RF-peaceful to +1 909 741 1321. My objective is for the right person. This episode should inspire you to get off your butt and actually do that summit that you've been desiring to do. And I don't want you to just be inspired and go, what do I do next? I'm telling you what to do next. This is at least going to get the gears moving, right? And that's important because it's action that is going to get you to that next level. So with that being said, any final words for our audience, Marie?
I think the biggest thing, and I always encourage people that I talk with that are thinking about this, put a date on, set a calendar reminder for yourself, tell somebody about it, find an accountability partner, and make it happen. It's going to be an exciting experience, but once you get that first one under your belt, it's amazing what you can do with the second, third, fourth, fifth, all of the things. So just set a calendar for yourself and make it a thing.
Woo! Invigorating. Awesome.
Yeah, do it.
It is quite evident why you are #RocketFuel. Mwah. Marie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I hope you Rocketeers have a rockin' day. Bye now. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, every one of our episodes is boosted by a value-packed keyword called a catchword. Yeah. This allows our audiences to text to receive even more value from our guests. So take advantage of that great value. And if you share your expertise by guesting on podcasts or TV or speaking in front of live or digital audiences, then you're leaving anonymous fans behind. So go get a catchword at catchwords.com, KETCH words.com, and use podcast20 as a promo code for 20% off your setup fee. Look, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Rocket Fuel podcast so you never miss your jolt of rocket fuel. Until next time, adios.